Hope. Hope for change. For power. For peace. A hope that lingers beyond the ages. A hope that lies broken and dead. In this what-if timeline, the Z-Fighters, aside from Piccolo, have learned Kaioken, just like in the filler. We begin atop a rocky cliff. Piccolo is suspended in the air by Android 17 as the latter's hands close around the former's throat with a sickening crack before falling to the ground, dead. With him gone, Kami passes to the next world, and the Earth loses its Dragon Balls, and with it, its only chance at salvation. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu watch on in horror as their best and only chance is literally crushed by the cyborgs. 17 and 18 taunt them. Yamcha springs forward into Kaioken and conjures a spirit ball, expanding it to twice its size and firing it off towards the twins. The pair laugh and easily dodge, and 17 is pleasantly surprised to discover its tracking ability. 18 more annoyed than anything, as they continue to effortlessly dodge it. 18 then inflicts the incoming ball, but is shocked to find Krillin floating in weight behind it. He shouts as the two bots are blinded. In an instant, Chaozu holds them in place as best he can with his telekinesis. Behind them, Tien screams, "Times 5!" before following up with a tri-beam as he shoots the blast, its peculiar geometric shape engulfing the cyborgs and launching them straight into a plateau as it detonates. Without hesitation, Krillin and Yamcha fire a Kamehameha together, and the explosion triples in size with a blinding light. The group stands there in exhausted anticipation, praying, hoping, but inside they know that it was all in vain. The androids instantly appear in front of them once more, with not much more than a few scuffs on their clothes to show for it. Tien yells at Chaozu to get out of there, but he refuses to abandon his friends. It happens quickly. Krillin fires as many Destructo discs as he can handle, but 17 blocks and shatters them easily with a ki-infused arm, before backhanding the small man fierce enough to instantly snap his neck, and he crumples over onto the dirt. "What a shame," 18 says. "That one was kinda cute." Yamcha explodes in fury, overriding his fear and shooting forth in a red blaze of aura. Tien screams, "Yamcha, don't!" But the bandit isn't listening. 18 doesn't even move as Yamcha barrels into her and continuously beats her with fist, foot, and knee, even headbutting her over and over before the red aura suddenly breaks and he spits up a gush of blood. He falls to his knees as his body begins to shut down from the side effects of Kaioken overusage. "Ugh," 18 exclaims in disgust. He trembles and twitches as he barely manages to look up at the girl and reaches up to try and strangle her. She merely smiles at the man's futile strength, and he fades and falls to the ground. "That's the problem with you heroic types, always wanting to go out with a bang," 18 remarks. "Let's help him, shall we?" 17 says. 18 kicks the twitching bandit into the air, and 17 simply says, "Bang," and fires a small beam, exploding Yamcha in a dazzling flurry of light and viscera. Tien once again tries to convince Chaozu to leave, but he's paralyzed with fear. Knowing what lies ahead and resigned to his fate, Tien once again claps his hand together into a triangle. Try! But before he can finish, 17 fires a small blast, barely larger than a grape, straight through the triangular gap and into the man's torso. "Nice!" The android laughs gleefully as he hits his goal. The world begins to lose color for Tien as he stumbles back. For a moment, he thought he could hear someone shouting his name before collapsing backwards off the cliff and into the abyss below. For a long time, hours or years, it felt like, there was nothing but darkness. Tien thought he felt himself slipping into death, and everything inside of him was cooing into letting go, to rest. But the image of his dear friend jolts him awake with a wet cough. There, at the bottom of the ravine, he lay covered in blood, most of it his, as the rain pelted him. He mustered a low and raspy "Chaozu" as he tried to feel for his friend's ki. Nothing. Either because he was in too rough a shape to sense anybody's energy, or because... No! He struggled to his feet and slowly stumbled over to the cliff wall to hold himself up. His body and ki were thoroughly messed up. He tried to fly, to feel the familiar feeling of the Crane School's sky dancing technique flow through his feet, but his energy just wouldn't obey. He stared up at the length of the cliff and began trying to scale it, his muscles aching with every step and grip. He got about 6 feet up before he slipped and fell hard onto his back. "Chatsu!" Again, he rose, a vein popping. He groaned and summoned what strength he could, 2 extra arms sprouting from his back as he triggered the 4 witches technique, and began to climb once more. After what felt like hour after hour of agonizing pain and effort, Tien finally made it to the top of the cliff. He collapses and the arms fade away from his back. Getting up to his knees and frantically looking around for Chatsu, he spots the body of Krillin, and his fists ball up, his nails piercing into his palm. Forcing himself to look away, he continues darting his eyes left and right before he finally sees it. In the pouring rain, he might have missed it, if not for his third eye, a small shape of a being lying face down in the mud. Tien rushes forward to his friend, cradling in his arms, and trying everything to rouse him, to wake him up, but it was too late. Tien had already seen his friend die once before, but this, it was horrific. The little fighter was completely battered and brutalized. The androids took their time playing with their food. Tien wanted to scream to the heavens, to pound his fists into the dirt, but all he could muster were quiet sobs. For a Saiyan, perhaps this moment would have unleashed power and rage, given the man a new fighting chance. But for a human, for Tien, there was nothing but pain. He drops Chiaotzu and falls over onto his side as he fades from consciousness. Gohan feels the sting of rain striking his face as he flies at full speed towards where he last felt his friend's key signatures. Finally, from above, he sees his worst fears realized. As he lands, he runs to Krillin, Tien, and Piccolo in quick succession, trying desperately to shake them awake, to feel any semblance of life. But there was nothing. He steps back from the corpse of his mentor, his hands trembling, and he grips his head and squeezes his hair enough to bring pain across his scalp. With a primal scream, his aura bursts and lights up the night as his hair blazes into a golden color, the force of his ki reaching out into the skies and clearing the rain and cloud cover for miles. Finally, he falls to his knees and sees his face and hair reflected in a puddle. But he only covers his eyes and sobs. The sound of a harsh gasp and cough stirs Gohan from his grief. He turns back to the source and sees Tien's body twitching, along with a groan. Gohan dashes over. The man was alive, barely, and fading fast. The newly blonde boy tried his best to safely carry him, much taller than he. He remembered before the group left him behind with his mother that Yamcha had showed off a bag of senzu to assure the boy they'd be okay. But try as he might, he couldn't spot the bandit or the beans. The only option was to take Tien to Bulma as fast as possible. Before he leaves, he looks back at Piccolo and the others and swears he returns to lay them to rest. With newfound speed, the Golden Child carries the Triclops off into the skies. And for now, this is where that story ends.